X-Files. Our X-Files. Welcome to our X-Files Vault. Regular people talking about unexplained phenomena. UFOs. Ghosts. Cryptids. Hidden archaeology. Weird science. Our stories. Our takes. Our X-Files Vault.
And welcome, folks. Hoping everybody had a nice Thanksgiving. And I'm Cameron with my friend Scott, and welcome to another episode of Creeptastic, where we talk about scary stories, creepy events, conspiracies, and of course, as well as sports. So we're going to get started. Scott, what do you have for us today?
I'm going to talk about the ever-famous werewolf.
Oh, that is a good one. That is a good one. And for today, I'll be talking about the Awful, which is a great name for beasts I can get into. But do you want to go first, Scott, or do you want me to go first?
I guess I can start us off today because I think you did the last time. So
it does. However you feel, buddy. However you feel.
Yeah, I'll start it off. Werewolf really speaks for itself, but there's so much to talk about, so I'm gonna keep it brief. The werewolf is actually a pretty awesome creature. It's everybody knows about what a werewolf is, but in a nutshell, they're probably dates back hundreds, maybe even thousands of years. I mean, when a full moon comes out, somebody turns into a werewolf, and they go out, they hunt, they kill, they have a thirst for flesh, and they go out and they kill. And what ends up happening to that person is that person then turns into a werewolf. There's still people today that think werewolves still exist. Some countries, I don't know if America it's really that big of a thing, but I know in some European, Asian countries, I know the werewolf is still a big deal. The way to stop a werewolf, well, that's funny because I'm going to speak about this because I've seen so many things in movies. I know it's just movies, but, you either use a silver bullet. Actually, that's actually the only way to stop a werewolf is a silver bullet.
You know what I always found weird about that, though? Because I've always, studied werewolves too, like yourself. We're big in this type of genre. I always wondered why it was a silver bullet, because silver weighs less than copper or what else they use to make bullets out of. So like silver weighs less than like most other bullets. Is there like, I don't know, it's because silver's supposed to be holy or something, like, because other bullets supposedly don't stop werewolves, but silver bullets do. And like I said, silver bullets are typically lighter, but I find that fascinating. So
yeah. You know what's funny about the werewolf too is I know it's Hollywood. It's not real, but anyways, I've seen werewolves actually get blown to pieces, and they've come back together. I'm like, really? At least try to keep it somewhat, real. If you're gonna make a werewolf movie and a werewolf gets blown up by a bomb, at least kill the damn thing. I mean, I know nothing I know can come back together unless it's Freddy Krueger or Jason Voorhees. But that's neither here nor there. But so, you have the silver bullet, and Hollywood has been depicting werewolves for, the Wolfman, you've got Silver Bullet, you've got The Howling, you've got American Werewolf in London, you got American Werewolf in Paris, and
good movie.
There's so many phenomenal movies out there that deal with the werewolf. People actually get scared. They hide their livestock. There's excuse me 1 second. I'm looking up something about that I read the other day about a community that was locked down because of a werewolf scare. And I'm like, really?
It's all good.
And
Do your thing. You're kind of freezing out a little bit.
oh yeah, my internet is pretty choppy, but I don't know. Bear with me here, man. That's my internet's pretty bad.
It's all good.
Yeah, one of the earliest known werewolves comes from Greek mythology, and it was a man by the name of Lycaon. I don't know if I said it right, but I guess he angered Zeus, and Zeus made a meal out of him. Um, and well, actually, no, I'm sorry. He pissed off Zeus, and then Zeus turned Lycaon into a wolf, and that's how werewolves started. Um, it's well, there's four types of werewolves, I guess. That's what it says here. I don't see how that. Wow. Okay. So it says here that there's a werewolf, which is a warlike werewolf. There's a quadruped wolf, whatever the hell that is. There's a pug wolf, and then there's a full wolf. It's all news to me, man.
That's definitely very interesting, nonetheless. I mean, I never heard of. I mean, I think I heard of pug wolves. I didn't know there was like four different types of like werewolf subculture species, but nonetheless, it's pretty interesting.
I thought a werewolf was just a werewolf was just a werewolf, regardless of, you know, what you get bit. That's it. So, um, what is a female werewolf called? They're called a werewoman or a werewoman. And again, I didn't know that. I thought it was just a werewolf. So
Yeah, I don't understand why it has to be gender specification because a female
yeah,
wolf are both called wolves. Why does a human werewolf call them just a werewolf? But it's yeah.
maybe now with all this this gender thing that werewolves are starting to, come out of the closet and, you know,
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of paranormal stuff that's gender neutral. I mean, you kind of sometimes heck, I've seen it with ghosts before and find it very interesting. So it's
well,
very
I
it's not.
actually I actually heard this story that these werewolves are actually trying to be found because they weren't practicing social distancing. And when they found the werewolf, they were going to fine them because they didn't have masks on.
Mask on.
Uh,
It's a cool type of canine to have, nonetheless. But
yeah, hey, if I had that power, you wouldn't have to worry about nothing. So,
they're pretty strong. They take care of themselves. Like I said, you know, they're on like I said, it seems like they're definitely one of the probably in terms of the field of paranormal. Given the fact that you're referencing back as far as Zeus, is probably one of the most not the earliest paranormal sci-fi thing in terms of supernatural or aliens, monsters, cryptozoids, spirits, whatever. But I mean, it's definitely up there because when you're talking about how Zeus supposedly might have been the creator of the first one, and obviously, of course, living in the U.S., we when it comes to werewolves, most people think about Middle Ages to modern time in terms of what was going on in Europe. Heck, even coming from the colonial days and on. I mean, people don't really think about pre-Middle Ages and associate with werewolf likeness. But nonetheless, it's very fascinating. I also found it cool too because one theory people said was if you get bit by a vampire a certain amount of times, you turn into a werewolf as well. That was another concept that I heard.
yeah, there's something about that, and I was trying to understand what it said here because on some of the research I was doing, it says something about is it a wolf or a vampire? And I'm like, werewolves and vampires. Why is well vampires don't werewolves are mortal in age just like humans, while vampires don't age and are immortal. I don't understand that. Like, I don't know. I just think that, in my opinion about werewolves, is that they're absolutely cool. They've been around for, like, when I think of a horror movie, like, to me, okay, personally, I think I've seen almost every werewolf movie out there, and I think a werewolf movie is so much more scarier than any vampire movie I've seen by far. And I think a werewolf is a lot more scarier than a vampire.
Yeah,
And
I mean, you're talking about a canine-ish creature where, I mean, wolves are bigger than your average dog, and a werewolf is probably bigger than an actual wolf itself. And then, given the not want to say dangerous history of them, the sounds they make, the smell, like a vampire could be almost is a humanoid type of person where most depictions of vampires aren't overly big. It's normally just a pale old guy at all. So I would say a jack-looking canine is probably scarier, just on the cusp, than an old pale guy to a degree, even though vampires are nothing to mess with either. But
there's some hot looking vampire women too. Like, there's no hot looking women. I mean, once they turn into a wolf, that's it. You don't want to go near them. But there's some hot vampire women out there, I'm sure. So
yeah, no, it's I mean, especially the crazy vampire phenomenon from the early 2000s to now. Then they tried to do because Twilight. Well, that was more vampires itself. Who knows? Maybe hey, maybe a werewolf movie might be the next best thing, I guess. Or the next trilogy of movies, kind of like Twilight.
yeah, here's one for you. You know how they had Jason versus Freddy and Godzilla versus Kong? Why don't they do werewolf versus vampire?
Or I mean, I don't know. It's weird because like it's weird because vampires and the werewolves association is close together one way or another, even though it's not direct. It's all theory based. I'm not sure which one I'd rather be because one's always associated with the full moon, where the other one's kind of just nocturnal and wanting blood. I'm sure werewolves are probably. I'd guess it's probably easier to be a werewolf in that sense if it's like where you have to worry about once a month that you don't really turn it into a creature where you want to kill people close to you. Where a vampire, it's kind of a nocturnal thing. Can't eat garlic, stay away from sunlight, like everything else. I'm not really sure where the idea of the shaved state came from. When maybe Buffy the Vampire Slayer grabbing the pointed stick.
But yeah, that's interesting. But I'd like to maybe I can make a movie about we'll call it Wolf versus Vamp.
Wolf versus Vamp. Hey, that would be I think it'd be pretty cool, honestly.
All right, Cam, go for it, buddy. It's all you.
All right. Well, I'm probably gonna have to stop doing stuff in New England for a little bit because I'm back in Vermont, for a state that doesn't have a lot of people. It sure has a lot of weird paranormal stuff. I've already did Champ in this wonderful city and the Pigman. One of the last things I'm probably going to do in the state before, maybe do the Benton Triangle. Anyways, however, the Awful. It is a creature. I'm pretty sure you haven't heard about it, but it's a really cool name. The Awful is a griffin-like creature with, a long serpent tail, ugly, wingspan of up to 20 feet, almost as wide as a school bus, some people believe. So the Awful was first, and most of the eyewitness accounts aren't really, they're all over the place. However, though, the Awful was first spotted in the town of Richford, Vermont in the 1920s. And Richford, Vermont is actually on the Canadian border, all on the other side from Quebec. It's a very small town, beautiful place to visit, foliage, but I wouldn't want to live there year round. However, going back into the 1920s when the Awful was first reported, there is no exact year or date, just stories. But the Awful was spotted by and some stories will say 3, but most of the stories say 2 mill workers that were walking in broad daylight in the downtown area, not the downtown area, but the main bridge that's in Richford, Vermont. And the 2 men notice a creature flying, gliding, soaring over them with the description that I said. The awful looks, like I said, looks like a griffin, very grayish, has an ugly, meaner to look. This thing did not do anything to the men. Most of the eyewitness accounts with the awful, they're not really associated with any violent thing happening. It's mostly after the fact, when people are encountered with it, bad things start to happen, which is why the name the awful came about. But going back to that first event of those 2 guys with the sawmill workers, like I said, they claimed to see the awful. The awful just stared at them for a little while, and one of the men got so frightened from just looking at it that he actually wound up going into shock and having a heart attack a couple of days later. Luckily, he survived and he was fine and recovered, but he had post-traumatic stress for months on end and had dreams about the awful, woke up screaming about the awful and couldn't stop thinking about the awful. And, fortunately, I couldn't blame him. So, unfortunately, the other guy didn't really have too much stuff after that. Like I said before, these things are pretty crazy. They have long talons. Supposedly, they're long enough to grab those old school milk metal tent things, which are pretty big. Supposedly, the talons are big enough to grab that. But after that initial eyewitness account, there have been other sightings that propped up across the town of Richford, as well as Berkshire, Vermont, which is a near a town nearby. People, the eyewitness accounts, at least in that 3-year period after the sawmill incident, eyewitness accounts kept rolling up. And like I said, most people saw them on their farms. Most people, same thing. The thing would just sort of fly over them, gaze at them, stare at them, not really interact. One lady claimed to see the awful, and she said that, and its grip, it had either what looked to be a small baby or child or a dead animal. At this time, though, there were really no reference. There's really nothing to reference any missing children or kidnappings. So it's probably more likely an animal. But I think that's kind of the goal, along with the fact that the midst of it just being awful. And then let's see, let's see what else. There's a couple other eyewitness accounts. Mrs. Hopkins also was a resident in the town and the community at the time, and she was with her dog, and they saw the awful outside her house. And like everybody else, the thing didn't really approach them, doesn't really do anything. But she said that like it kind of freaked her out so much that she actually went under her bed, and the thing was just staring through the window from outside, and it went on for 4 hours. It really gave her the creeps. So yeah, it was really a 3-year window where people saw the awful in those 2 towns in Vermont, and as well as the Trout River sighting was there as well. From the 1920s, the awful really wasn't seen ever again until 2006, and there was an eyewitness account of somebody seeing an awful. Not really the most credible story, kind of falls in line with everything that happened in the 1920s. Just, I saw it, it's not doing anything, it's creepy. However, the sightings of the awful going back to the 1920s were so rampant that H.P. Lovecraft, the author, I'm sure you heard of him, wrote a ton of horror fictional stuff. He actually went to the 2 towns to investigate the sightings of the awful and use a lot of that inspiration for some of his own writings. So, unfortunately, he wasn't able to find a lot of evidence, but he was able to get inspiration for some of his own work. And that's kind of really all I have on the awful. Like I said, it's a cool looking griffin beast that looks scary, crazy sharp talons, like most birds or wild turkeys they have, except they're long, wide wingspan, serpent tail. Doesn't really seem to really get up close and physical people, but seems to exert them a lot. And the fact that H.P. Lovecraft, wanted to write about him, or at least was inspired to an extent, makes it pretty interesting, all the less.
Yeah, there's a lot of the things I've read, or a lot of the things I've heard, there's a particular type of, I don't know if you want to call it a bird or a flying creature that has been spotted by several eyewitnesses over the years. I think it might be called a Thunderbird or something.
Yep. There's a lot of Thunderbird sightings in Bridgewater, Massachusetts, as well as Pennsylvania. And the Thunderbird is believed to be a prehistoric bird that was like right before kind of the gist of mankind, depending on when you look at it. It depends on when you look at history in terms of archaeologists, but there have been certain fossils that resemble what a thunderbird is outside of a pterodactyl. But typically, thunderbirds are always associated with pterodactyl-looking like birds. There's a cop from Norfolk, Mass, that actually saw one getting off his shit back in the 80s one day and swore up and down that he saw it, how it flew, how it, So it's those are pretty. I think I'd be more afraid of the awful though, because than the actual thunderbird. Thunderbird would be cool to see. They are sort of similar, but the awful just looks ugly, and most people supposedly bad things happen to them after they see it, or they at least just have terms of anxiety, which is why it's probably called that. So it's just awful.
Well, I too have. Well, I have a theory, and I don't know if I should get into it now or not, but we do have quite a bit of time, so I probably will get into it. I know you mentioned the before man or the dinosaur age or whatever, but there's a particular author slash he's more of a motivational speaker, but he's a paleontologist as well. And he studied at UCLA. His father studied at UCLA. His father was a paleontologist as well. He's also a theologian as well. And he also talks about dinosaurs existing with man around the time of Noah. And that there were dinosaurs on the ark because, according to him, he was a paleontologist, like I said, and that dinosaurs were only the most common size for a dinosaur was about 4 feet tall. Now there were some huge ones. Don't get me wrong, because they are lizards. But the most common size is about 4 feet tall. And he said it only takes maybe about 100 years for a bone to become fossilized. So if you go back to the time of, say, Noah and Moses and all that, now this guy, like I said, he's a UCLA graduate. He's got a doctorate in paleontology. Very credible. He said that dinosaurs could have existed with man, and a fossil could become a fossil really quick. And the name dinosaur didn't even become a word till the 1880s or 1850s, somewhere around there, because dinosaur only means giant lizard. So it's possible that whatever that is, or whatever the Thunderbirds are, that say they existed at the time of Noah, maybe 2,000 years ago, or maybe 1,800 years ago, whatever it was, that these are remnants of whatever's still alive back then. And I believe in that fully. Whether you believe it, other people, I don't know. That's just my opinion,
I know it's definitely a good theory because, obviously typically, like, most people think dinosaurs and cavemen did live together, even though on average, there was, like, some people say it's like a 400 million year difference, give or take, debatable, argumental. However, there is a little bit of theory to what you said, because, not theory, but some truth, because of, for example, raptors. When you watch Jurassic Park, everybody thinks raptors are like these huge, big things. In reality, the raptors were about the size of a turkey. And in a sense, a turkey is probably just like a newer modern day version of a raptor, because even though they're crocodiles, you reference reptiles, lizards, bullfrogs, those were all around the same time as the Big Bang. And when you look at books, you would think that those are the closest relatives to dinosaurs, but in reality, it's actually birds, or like more closely related to dinosaurs than actual alligators, turtles, lizards. Even though all those things are related to them too, it's just that a lot of birds are closer to relate to dinosaurs than those reptiles are, which is weird because those reptiles were around the Big Bang as well. Like I think bullfrogs were, at least the ones that were in Cuba, like most of the ones that were found in Cuba were. So it is pretty interesting. It could be also just a new species that, not a new species, but an undiscovered species to some extent because, you know, there's so much out there, or one that died out, give or take. But it is pretty interesting. And I kind of would like to know what actually happened to the Awful, or why it only wanted to be in that small part of Vermont where only, you know, I can't imagine the population being that much bigger in Vermont 100 years ago from today, because Vermont's
maybe it
like,
goes up. Maybe it goes up into Canada, you know, because it's not far from Canada.
yeah, oh no, it's right on the border. Richford, Vermont, and Berkshire, however you want to pronounce it, they're actually on the Canadian border on the other side from Quebec. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Hopefully there'll be some. Wonder if there'll be any more awful sightings. But like I said, the last one wasn't really anything too great, and really wasn't worth me talking about. It was just somebody on a blog saying that, oh, that ain't no Fumpton, which sounds like a country term, but I guess it's a good way of saying that's something weird and creepy. But nonetheless,
Well, yeah, I mean, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you're fine. I was done. I was just saying, but nonetheless, the name is cool, I think.
Yeah, and I maybe we can hear some more about the Awful, and yeah, man, that sounds like something we definitely want to come back to maybe at another time down the line. But yeah, man, that's awesome. Thanks for the story, man.
Hey, no problem. And I love learning more about werewolves. So
Yeah, I didn't have a lot, but your story definitely was intriguing as always. And let's get into some football, man. You start us off. What are your thoughts, man? The Pats are really doing it, and doing it well.
yeah, well, start off with a little bit of football. Went to the BC game this past week. I get my college football fix. I got nope, I don't got the free stuff that I was given a bunch of free shirts, memorabilia from the team, which is good. And then unfortunately they lost, but now I'm ready to talk about the Pats. Gotta say, I know people are saying they're 8-4. Mac Jones is looking good. Defense is looking pretty decent. They still give up a lot of rushing yards, but you know, as long as they keep people from scoring and missing field goal kicks, hey, it's all good. They got a rushing attack. Mac Jones is looking like I said, really good. Some people aren't as high on him. Some people are higher on him. Some people are just low on him. But you know what? He's playing better than Cam Newton did last year. He's looking better than than all the other rookie quarterbacks. Obviously, it's a good start to begin with. And then, yeah, it looks like he has nowhere to go but up. But, you know, beating Tennessee, it is weird because a lot of Patriots fans are like, oh, they haven't beaten anybody. Let's pump the brakes. But at the same time, this team is 8-4. Okay. You know, they started off the season. They shouldn't have lost to Miami. They shouldn't have lost to the Saints, but they did. And they lost to the Cowboys in overtime. And they brought Tom Brady, defending Super Bowl champions, to the break to the wire and almost won that game. So in terms of everybody being hurt, whether if it's Baker Mayfield with the Browns, or who else? I mean, A.J. Brown with Tennessee, or Cordell Patterson. You know what? If those players can't play, it's not the Patriots' fault. One, I'm not going to lie. When you're going against the opposition, yeah, you don't want them on the field. You want the best chance to win. But it's just to value them because all their opponents' players are hurt. It's really kind of a weird thing to do because they can only beat who's in front of them on the schedule.
Yep.
So it's
yeah.
We hear a lot of sports talk, but I don't really want to do the Brady comparison, but I do see why people compare it to 0-1 again. You have a strong grit defense. You have a team coming off a losing record from the previous year with low expectations. You have a young quarterback that beat out a veteran. Granted, Brady didn't necessarily beat out Drew right away, but Drew did get hurt and got knocked out. So there are some similarities, but 2001 was a special year and a special team, so I don't want to compare it to that. And hopefully, if this team does go on a run and do something amazing, this will be a special team, and it'll be up there with all those great Patriots teams.
Yeah, did you see Kendrick Bourne? Oh my God.
Yeah, he's really better. He's not better, but he's better than I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be in the same ballpark as Aguilar, because Aguilar is kind of trash, but not trash, just overvalued and overpaid. But Kendrick Bourne's pretty good. Hunter Henry's doing the job. The running backs, yeah, they're getting it done. And
Jonnu Smith came back, and he's been amazing.
What was his injury?
I think he had was it a shin or a groin or something? Or I'm not sure.
But I honestly don't even know. It's just, but yeah, between him, Henry's looking good, and hopefully Jonnu Smith is, pops off a little bit, gets a little bit better. But it'll be interesting to see how they look against Buffalo going on Monday night, because that's going to be a big game for Mac, playing in Western New York, where it's really cold, and then night game, prime time, and then after that they're going into the bye. So because it looks like,
and then they got the Colts and then Buffalo, and the Colts aren't no slouch team either.
Oh yeah, they started off like 0-4, 1-4, but they play their way out of a losing record, and they're looking pretty good at the moment. So it's
they got the best running back in the game right now. So
hey man, Rashad Stevens is pretty good too, that Patriots rookie. But yeah, I'd say Jonathan Taylor is kind of the best, because he scored 5 touchdowns against the Bills, in Buffalo, in a crappy weather day where typically dome teams don't really play well outdoors in crappy weather, especially in Western New York. And yeah, it was just really weird. Not weird, but who knows? Maybe the Bills are kind of sliding, but they'll probably be up for next Monday against the Patriots, because they know that, they're probably kicking themselves because they waited 20 years for Brady to leave the division. He finally leaves. They finally sweep the pat for the first time, and who knows since when. And even then, it was still kind of hard, because Cam Newton, a lot of those games against Buffalo were still winnable until Cam Newton was holding the ball like a loaf of bread and just fumbled it. So, yeah, it's interesting to see. Or Tre'Davious White's out too with like an ACL injury, so that's another break for the Patriots. But nonetheless, I'm not really sure. Like I said, nonetheless, I'm not really sure where to go from here. Hold on 1 second, Scott. Hold on 1 second. Hey, sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Like I said, though, nonetheless, it's next Monday night would be a good game, and then so it should be something to look forward to.
Yeah, well, we got one thing that they don't. It's Matt Judon.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't his best game this past week, but he was pretty good. He's definitely been the key defensive acquisition that hit.
He's been. I've seen. Oh man, he's been like. Oh, and who's been getting all the interceptions? J.C. Jackson. Oh my.
Yeah.
That guy's been. Man, he's got more interceptions, I think, than any other. What is it? Any other defense?
Second.
What is it? Second.
He's behind the Cowboys cornerback. Mac Jones' teammate from college.
Wow. Unbelievable. Yeah, and just think, we got rid of Gilmore. Imagine if we still had Gilmore. Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I'm not even sure if Gilmore's playing, because honestly, like in Carolina, he's only been playing like 15, 20 snaps a game. So, and obviously, I still think he would have helped us if we had him. I mean, because think about it, like, J.C. Jackson's going to be covering the best number 2 guy as opposed to number 1. But yeah, we'll see how it goes nonetheless. But I'm excited for next week, and hopefully they keep this train rolling.
Yeah, during the trade deadline, I was all about OBJ. And I was making a comment the other day to a friend of mine. And I was like, I watched the Rams game the other day, and I think the Rams got burnt out bad by the Packers.
Yeah,
they said what's that?
Yeah, the Rams have 3 straight losses in a row.
And I said to my friend, I said, OBJ must be kicking himself in his rear end because he could have went to the Packers. He could have went to New England. I mean, I love the team we have, but he's probably like, what the hell did I just pick? I mean, it's only till the end of the year, but he's just probably like, oh my God, why did I go to the LA Rams? I know why he went to the Rams. Because of LeBron. What's that?
No, I'm saying you guys probably star driven. He only cares about his brand.
Probably because of LeBron James, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know about LeBron James. I just think LA, the guy played in New York, so he knows what it's like to be a star. Because, New York and LA, those are the two biggest media market hub cities, and at least in the country, and definitely within terms of the world. And not to mention, I'm not going to lie, LA weather, women, and I think OGB loves weed too, so he's got that. So
yeah, that's true.
The 3 W's: weed, weather, and women.
Yeah.
You're a athlete, and you're a young athlete, and you're rich. Where would you want to be? That's what always worried me. That's what always surprised me. In our 20-year run, how come the Miami's Dolphins aren't able to use Miami as a recruiting ground? Not recruiting, but in terms of free agents, because there's no income tax in the state of Florida. The women in Miami are beautiful, and the weather's amazing. I feel like it's a perfect place to be a football player.
Maybe it's because they suck. Well, it's either because they suck so bad, or maybe it's because Miami is such just like the Lions. Miami is such a shit town, a shit city. And
I think Miami's better than Detroit, but yeah, I know.
That's true.
I mean, Miami. I've been to Miami before. It is a fun nightlife, and the women are hot. But
imagine playing for the Lions. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They haven't won a playoff game since 19. It's been almost 60 years. Well, yeah, it's been almost 60 years since they won a playoff game. That is
Oh, they're pathetic. Oh my God, they're 0-9, 0-10 now. Oh my God.
Yeah, 9-1. They're not even good enough to win, but they're good enough to tie.
Yeah, against the Steelers, who are pathetic this year. But yeah, man, it's an interesting season. Some of the teams who I thought weren't even gonna be like the Bengals, I didn't think were gonna be this good. Just trying to think who else. I'm kind of confused, surprised that they're in the position that they're in. Let's see. The toughest division, I think, is the division that Arizona is in, because I think that's where the Rams are at, aren't they? The Rams and the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, the Rams, Arizona Cardinals, 49ers, and the Seahawks. Those, that's the NL West.
Yeah, and the Seahawks and the Rams, the Seahawks and the Niners aren't that good, but
Niners are actually getting pretty decent. Actually,
yeah.
They smoked. They started off. The Niners started off kind of sucking, but Garoppolo's been looking pretty decent lately. The Rams started off pretty good, and then after they beat Tampa Bay, it was like they blew their load when they beat Tampa Bay. And it's now they get OBJ, it might be be funny to go winless since OBJ.
Oh my God. Yeah, how pathetic that would be. And then he'd be like, oh, I want to stay with the Rams. And I'd be like, oh man, you're gonna be crazy if you do that. Because
I'm not gonna lie, I did kind of.
What's that?
I said I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wanted Odell Beckham Jr.
Me too.
I don't think he's gonna be as what he used to be, but I don't know. Aguilar is supposed to be our deep field threat, and I just don't think. I don't know. He seems like an average receiver at best. Bourne has nuts on him.
Oh.
Hunter Henry, he's going to be good for a few catches in the playoff. But Aguilar, I don't know. He's only had one really good year. Outside of that, he's been kind of, just a guy.
And Bourne can fly, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's a deep field threat though, but he can move. He's definitely quick. But yeah, it's we'll see where this team goes though. So
Yeah. Let's just see. The season's getting winding down. I know we have Jacksonville coming up. Oh, that's going to be a tough game, and because they suck. But it's funny because we have a young quarterback with the Bills, Josh Allen. Then we got
not really young anymore. He's off his rookie deal. He's off
that's
his.
true.
He's like 4 or 5 years in, but
that's true. But he's still not like the guy from Green Bay. Why can't I think of his name?
Oh, Aaron Rodgers is like
it's not like Aaron Rodgers. He hasn't been around forever. But we got the Bills, then we got the Colts. I don't even know who the quarterback of the Colts is.
Carson Wentz.
Oh, that's right. Carson Wentz. Then we got the Bills again. Then we got, I think, Jacksonville after that.
Yeah, Jacksonville's weird because Jacksonville sucks, but they beat some good teams or teams that are better than them.
And they got the number one overall. They got the number one overall pick, right? Last year.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, the Clemson quarterback. He's not bad.
And yeah, so I mean, hopefully that'll be in the favor of the Patriots, and we'll win the division, get the number 1, number 2 seed or something, and number 1, number 2, and get first round bye.
Hopefully. But
all right, man. Well, if you're good, I'm good. I want to talk to you about something after. So if you will stay on real quick once I shut the recording off.
Sure, you got it.
Okay. All right. Well, that'll do it for another episode of the Scary Creeptastic podcast. We will see you on the next episode. And until then, good night and God bless.
Bye, folks.